Hey guys, Gossip Girl here, and I have the biggest news. I'm a clown. You know, the Gossip Girl reboot, it premiered a few weeks ago on HBO Max, and I've been enjoying it every fucking Thursday. I've been making my script to, talk about the show once the season 1 is over, and it has come to my surprise this Thursday when I was going through, HBO Max. Where's my episode 7 of Gossip Girl? And it's not there. And I had to Google, and it turns out that I have to wait until fucking November. I thought when the rise of the streaming services and the streaming services original shows, we were gonna be done and eradicate the whole dividing a season in parts and releasing, half a season in June, and the second half of the season in October. But I guess HBO was like, you know what? We're not gonna do that. Anyway, since I don't want to wait until the whole season is out to finally speak about, how I'm feeling with Gossip Girl, and I'm making this video with my first impressions, how I'm feeling the show. This is not a deep dive or analysis or anything like that. I'll make a more in-depth video about the reboot once the reboot is done, once season 1 is done. So yeah, this is more to get an overall opinion and how I'm feeling, and yeah. So let's get started. If you haven't been keeping up with the reboot, don't watch this video because I'm gonna give spoilers, obviously, duh. Yeah, hi, my name is Sofia. I make videos about teen dramas such as Pretty Little Liars, Gossip Girl, just anything that comes into my mind, a lot of reviews sometimes. So if that's something that you might be interested in, maybe consider to subscribe. I did my eyeshadow today because I'm feeling fancy, and I put on a dress, and I never wear dresses, so yeah. I think I'm gonna start with giving a little premises of what happens in each episode. It has only been released 6 episodes of the first season, and the first season is supposed to have 12 seasons. So the first one begins with a parallel to the actual first episode of the OG, when Serena on the train and
spotted at Grand Central, bags in hand, Serena Vanderwoodson.
In the reboot is actually a teacher dressed just like Serena. I actually kind of liked it. It was a very good parallel referential to the OG. We quickly learned that the teachers are terrified of the students, and they start Gossip Girl. Yes, the teachers are Gossip Girl. The plot follows Julien, an influencer, and we meet Zoya, who is her half-sister. Zoya is kind of like Jenny Humphrey. She's like the grounded character, the one that doesn't have a lot of money. Although I don't know how much to believe that she doesn't have that much money, considering dad was able to afford living in New York. I know they live in their grandma's apartment, but still, I don't know how. I don't know. Anyway, she's obviously not as rich as the others, and she got into the school due to a scholarship that she isn't aware of, but Julien helped her get that scholarship. And Julien is trying to include her into the group, but nobody actually wants that, and especially not Luna and Monette, who are kind of I wouldn't say that Julien's minions. I feel like their role is more of a manager, they manage her social media and her whole branding of an influencer, and they're constantly, helping her and retouching her and telling her what to do. And Monette and Luna are constantly, trying to Julien and Zoya apart because they feel like Zoya is gonna ruin Julien's image. So in the very first episode, they take Zoya's phone and take a picture of Thomas. You know what type of picture I'm talking about, and they airdrop it to the whole school, making it seem that Zoya did it. So in episode 2, we see Monette and Luna trying to keep Julien at the top and trying to, and insisting her to try and ruin Zoya's life, which Julien doesn't really want to do, but when Julien sees Obie and Zoya together, she joins forces with Gossip Girl and tries to ruin their date. Then she kind of regrets and tries to fix it and cover for Zoya, but I mean, yeah, that doesn't exactly turns out well. At this point, Zoya is kind of skeptical about Julien, and she obviously doesn't like Luna and Monette because they're constantly trying to, you know, bully her and shit. And Jules assures her that things between her and Obie are officially over, so there's nothing to worry about. We see Thomas have an interest for a teacher, and I'm gonna get into that later on this whole thing, but I remember when I was watching the episode, I was somewhat glad that the teacher like said no to him, because he's a teacher, he knows better, and he keeps refusing him. And although he did tell him to wait until graduation,
Ew, perv.
But at this point I was somewhat happy when the direction the show was taking, but I mean, we'll get into what happens later. Audrey and Aki, they're a couple, but we see that they are kind of desynchronized with each other, and Aki has some kind of interest towards Thomas. They even kiss to make the teacher jealous, and we realize that Aki actually enjoyed kissing Thomas. And then in that same episode, we see Audrey and Thomas in their room, and it's kind of implied that they had sex. In episode 3, the principal bans phones from the students due to their parents threatening to pull their donations away from the school. And the teachers are worried since the parents hired people to try and find out who Gossip Girl is. We finally get to see a little bit of background on Mac's life, because in the very first and second episode we didn't really get to know him. And we found out that his parents are gay, and that one of them is cheated on his dad and is ashamed of him, because he is very okay with his sexuality. He is very feminine and likes to wear dresses and really dress himself up, and he's kind of ashamed of that. And Max creates a false profile to expose him using photos of that teacher, and he's sad and upset when he sees that things came out not as he's expected, and that his dad was actually cheating on his other dad. It's also revealed that Audrey slept with Max many times, and Gossip Girl exposes Audrey's and Aki's situation are having relationship problems, although they don't really seem to be acknowledging. We also realize that Julien's dad is having a double life. He's lying about traveling when he's actually seeing his girlfriend, and this whole episode is about Julien and Max trying to working together to expose their dads. And yeah, in this episode I realized that I loved Luna because she's so unapologetically mean, just like Blair was. I find out that Monette is a lesbian, which thank you, I love that for her. Episode 4, well, I think episode 3 was when things started to become more interesting to me, but in episode 4 we have Jewel having a makeup free day. This whole episode is about her being kind of authentic and feeling and trying to ground herself. But I caught a little mistake going on in that episode, because she's supposedly not to be wearing any kind of makeup, but when they're at the med step planning the party that they're gonna have later on, she's actually wearing makeup. So there was a little bit of mistake going on there, and I mean, it was very easy to notice since she was wearing some smoky eyes. So it's Zoya's birthday, but it's also the anniversary of her mom's death, and she doesn't like to celebrate her birthday for obvious reasons. And Obie gets some food trucks, and she's not exactly happy about that. She explained the situation to him, so he decides to just have some dinner with her dad. Luna and Monette are still determined to expel Zoya out of New York. Julien plan a party, and Zoya tells Obie to plan their own party. Then the parents find out what is happening, so they just join the one party. Julien claims that the party was a fundraiser for her mom, but she's actually planning to destroy Zoya with the help of Gossip Girl, when the video of Zoya vandalizing the school is played at the whole party. But what Julien didn't know is that that Zoya was getting bullied. Julien apologizes, admitting that she's a bully, which I don't really think she is a bully. I just think she's I don't really know what I think about Julien just yet, because I feel like she has a good heart. I feel like she's trying to, you know, make things better with Zoya, but at the same time, I don't know, she gives me a little bit of red flags sometimes. I feel like I don't know what she wants to do. So I hope that in the second half of season 1 we'll get a better understanding about her character. They have a heart-to-heart conversation when it's revealed that Zoya feels guilty for her mom's death, and I cried. Exhibit A. Aki and Audrey are avoiding each other, and eventually she asks him if he's gay, which he says he doesn't know yet, but he knows that he loves her. And in this whole episode, Max is a fucking mess. He's drunk, and drugged to his dad's split. Like, he's not doing okay, and the teacher is worried but tries to keep a distance while also helping him, and they kiss. We also got to see Milo, which is Georgina's son. I totally forgot about him until, like, I remember they said, oh, Milo Spark, and I was like, why does that sound familiar? And then, holy shit. Then in episode 5, it's Halloween, and Zoya and Julien are planning a matching sister costume. There was a school shooting at another school, and Kate, the blonde teacher, I think that's her name, feels responsible because Gossip Girl probably helped that kid get targeted, and the other teacher trying to take away the guilt, but yeah, it's not exactly working. And we meet 2 girls from that school that I guess are kind of their enemies, or I guess their competition, and they get mad when seeing them gaining sympathy, followers due to the situation. So they crashed the party when they were dressed as Serena and Blair, when Julien dresses Dan, and Zoya dresses Chuck Bass. Max and the teacher are a thing. Audrey and Aki are avoiding Max because of, you know, their relationship issues. This is when Obie starts to piss me off. Like, I didn't like Obie, but this is when he really starts to annoy me. Obie starts feeling a bit weird and distant from Zoya because he thought that she was different and didn't care about any of this crap. But Zoya just wants to be friends with Julien and help her and kind of understand her. She wants to have a sister. Like, is that so bad? And she is also getting tired of Obie because she feels like his activism is kind of performative, which, girl, I agree. Monet and Luna doesn't like what's going on between Julia and Zoya because it isn't good for Julien's brand. And we also meet Audrey's mom, who has decided to move back to their town, city, I don't remember where. And Audrey's mad at her for making that decision without asking her. So now in episode 6, Obie's mom is in town and Zoya is hurt that he didn't tell her, and Julien encouraged her to introduce herself to his mom, and she's invited to dinner by her and not Obie. At dinner, with Obie's mom, Aki's parents, and Aubrey, Aki's dad is receiving a lawsuit about firing a gay man or something like that. And Aki leaves the dinner feeling uncomfortable, and Aubrey accidentally outs him. And Zoya keeps voicing her opinion about LGBT rights, and Aubrey tries to shut her down. Julien failed her SATs and her dad is worried about her future. She tries to make him see that she's creating a brand for herself, and with the help of Luna, they get meetings with some companies for a collab. Sephora gives them a good offer, but they aren't happy when seeing Julien at a process and ask for her to leave in order for the collab to actually happen. Obie and Zoya are not in a good place. Obie is mad that she's voicing her opinion, and she's mad at him for not being himself and agreeing with his mom when he supposedly doesn't. When he's at a process against his mom and Aki's dad, Zoya gets excited and goes to join, thinking that he actually listened to her. However, over there she sees him with Julien. She gets upset and asks Julien if she's still in love with him, and leaves as soon as she gets her answer. And on top of that, when the police came, we see Julien and Obie making out in an alley. His mom is at the hospital and Aubrey is super worried about her. She went all Karen to the fucking nurses to get updates, and Aki's dad out him in fucking national TV. And when asked about the lawsuit, like, how can I be homophobic when my own son is gay? Augie tries to correct them as bisexual, but no one fucking cares. And at the end of the episode, we see a threesome about to happen between Aubrey, Augie, and Max. And Rafa, the teacher, is basically harassing Max, even though he wants nothing with him anymore. And Rafa doesn't like that and spreads rumors to Gossip Girl about Max having an STI. He gets angry at Max because he's the one who pursues him and tries to victimize himself, when at the end of the day he's a teacher, he's the adult, and Max is a kid. Okay, so let's talk about my overall thoughts and opinions. I'm gonna talk first about the teachers being Gossip Girl because I'm not really feeling it, and I feel like that's an popular opinion. Teachers being in Gossip Girl to try and, you know, teach the students a lesson, to put the privileged rich kids, students in their place. I feel like it's a very weak reason to be Gossip Girl, and at the end of the day they're harassing kids. I feel like it's kind of unethical and illegal, especially when in the very first episode we see one of the teachers take a picture of Zoya and Obie changing, which they're underage, so they basically have child pornography that they took. Knowing who's Gossip Girl from the very beginning is not something that I dislike. I've seen some people not liking that what they like about the OG was the fact that they didn't know who Gossip Girl was. And it's not something that bothers me personally. I don't really care about knowing who Gossip Girl is. What bothers me is that it's teachers, it's adults, basically bullying, cyberbullying, harassing minors, their students on top of that. I'm hoping that at some point someone is gonna take over for Gossip Girl, and, you know, like, whether they're gonna get hacked, because the whole teacher thing, I just don't like it, and it makes me so fucking uncomfortable. Now let's actually talk about the characters. Well, I don't like neither of the teachers, so I'm not gonna get in depth with any of them. I will say the blonde teacher, Kate, I think that's her name, she reminds me of Scarlett Johansson for some reason. I don't know why, like her voice and even like her face, like it reminds me of her, and it was quite disturbing because every time I would see her, I would see Scarlett Johansson, and it was just a whole mix up. I was like, you're not supposed to be here. Anyway, so I don't know what happened, but I sort of lost the footage of me talking about Julien. So if I can remember correctly what I said, and I don't really remember what I said, is that I don't really know how to feel about her. She reminds me of Serena, someone who cares about people. She cares about what, you know, very empathetic character. She also cares about, you know, being an influencer, being the it girl. She really cares about that. And she gets easily influenced by people. Like, in many times we saw her get so easily influenced by Monet and Luna, who don't really have the best interesting heart about Julien. Like, they care for her brand, but I don't know if they care about her as a person. And I feel like she resembles Serena to a perfection. Zoya is, you know, the new Jenny Humphrey, and I do actually like Zoya. I think she's a very likable character, and I hope that they don't ruin her at any point. I kind of relate to her in many ways. I love her fashion, and something that I liked about her, and I didn't notice this until someone pointed out, and I think it was Mina Lee, is that right? She was giving a Gossip Girl reboot review and also talking about the costumes, and she mentioned this about Zoya, that, you know, she's supposed to be the one that doesn't have a lot of money because she has a scholarship and all of that, and we see her repeating and wearing the same clothes in different styles, but we see her repeating clothes, and that's symbolizing that she doesn't have as much money as the other characters, because they constantly wear new things and different clothes, and they change their clothes in every fucking episode. While in the OG, when Jenny Humphrey and Dan Humphrey, who are supposed to be the characters that don't have money, we barely see them repeating clothes. We always see them wearing something new, and so I kind of like that about Zoya. Then we have Max, who I'm very intrigued by. I really like him. I'm trying to see if it's because I like how comfortable he is with his sexuality. He grew up with gay dads, with one of them being very comfortable in his sexuality and experimenting with his clothes, that Max growing up in that, he is very comfortable wearing whatever he wants to wear, and I kind of like that about him. Max is supposed to be kind of Chuck Bass. He's way better than Chuck Bass in my opinion, but I'm also not the biggest Chuck Bass fan, so let's talk about him and the teacher. So when the show started and when we meet Rafa and that Max has a crush on the teacher, I was very mad because I'm so tired of these fucking student teacher trope. I made a video about it on Arya and Ezra from Pretty Little Liars if you want to go and watch that video, but I'm not a big fan of this trope, and I hate when TV shows include it because they're just promoting a relationship. So when we first meet these two, we see that Max is the one pursuing him, but Rafa is trying to put a stop to it. He's like, we're not doing this, it's not okay, I'm a professor, you're an underage. Like, he knows his place and he knows that he has to say no, and he does that when we first meet him. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, good, thank you. But I knew that was not gonna be the end of it, so I was still skeptical. Then within the episodes go by, and in episode 4 or 5 that we see Max in a very vulnerable place, we see Rafa trying to help him and very worried about him, and Max kisses him, and although Rafa pulls away, he still kisses him back, and they start having this little thing. And they started sleeping together. In episode 5, it's all about them sleeping together all the fucking time, even having school. Gross. And I was so disappointed of HBO for making this a thing, because I'm so fucking tired of seeing this. This is not something to romanticize, and we shouldn't be teaching kids that this is okay for you to have a crush on your teacher and for your teacher to pursue a relationship with you. Like, this is grooming, this is behavior. Your teacher is a. And then in episode 6, when Max is like tired of Rafa and doesn't want to do anything with Rafa, we got to see Rafa's true colors. We got to see him being the actual bad guy as he is. We got to see him the abusive manipulator type of person that he is, when he's trying to, he's mad and upset that Max is not continuing to play this game, and he's even victimizing himself. Like, you wanted this, you were the one pursuing me, like, and it's like, dude, you're the adult, you're the one who's supposed to say no, you can't be doing this, and you can't blame him. Although I doubted you, HBO, at the end you made the right choice and portray him as the bad guy and villain and abusive manipulator predator person that he is, and I would say thank you for that one. But I would much rather have them just not have this whole relationship in the very fucking first place. But anyway, let's talk about other characters because I'm getting heated. So let's talk about Audrey and Augie. I'm gonna put them in the same place because I don't really have that much of an opinion about them. Augie is a character that I personally want more background story on him, because I feel like we don't really get to know him. I feel like he was kind of an afterthought kind of character. We see him questioning his sexuality, but also being in a relationship with Audrey and knowing that he loves Audrey, but he also has this attraction. He also has this thing that he wants to figure it out. I love that Audrey was there for him, although she was kind of panicking because she didn't know what to do. At the end of the day, she was there for him and she loves him and she wants him to be happy. So yeah, but I definitely want to see more from Augie and also from Audrey, because we didn't also get to know her that much. We know that she has a difficult situation with her mom being a drug addict. Audrey and Luna have more of Blair Waldorf's traits, with Luna being an unapologetic, mean person overall and bitchy. She gives me more of Blair Waldorf vibes, and as well as Audrey, because Audrey is always like minding her own thing. I feel like Julien is more of like a free spirit, like Serena Vanderwood, and that she actually cares for other people, but at the same time we caught her doing selfish things and getting influenced by other people. Talking about the fashion in the show, I personally like it. I'm no expert on fashion, obviously. The whole customizing their uniform thing, that obviously they did in the OG and now they're doing it here, like it's, you know, I'm loving that. My overall opinion on the show, I actually think it's very good. Before the show came out and like we got to see the first few pictures of what the casting would look like, people were being very mean and saying that they don't want this, it looks horrible, they wanted Blair and Chuck to be in the show. It kind of bothers how you know the show is bad if you haven't watched it. Like, you can't just judge it based on one photo. And I thought that people were being extremely judgmental, like, chill out, let's wait and see. I actually did have hopes for the show to be good, and I think the show was good. I don't think it's better than the original, and I think it's very hard for you to make a reboot that is gonna be better than the OG, because it's just gonna be really hard. Doesn't matter how problematic Gossip Girl was, it is still an iconic show that basically shaped an entire generation. Obviously, if we watch it now, like I'm rewatching Gossip Girl right now, and the amount of things that I just find so cringe or so problematic are way more, and I actually find more problems than things that I actually enjoy about the show. But the thing is, it's the nostalgia is what I felt when I watched it for the first time and the second time when I was 15, and I found this amazing show that was actually my favorite show for a while. And for me personally, it doesn't matter how good the reboot is, it will never top what I feel about the OG. But I still think that the reboot is looking pretty good. I will say that the main reason why I enjoyed the OG so much was because of the escapism. You get to escape for 45 minutes per episode, and it was just amazing. And that's why I loved it so much, just because I got to escape from my own problems, from my depression. And I feel like the reboot doesn't exactly do that. When you watch the original, again, extremely problematic, but when you watch the original, they never really address things as racism, LGBT. I mean, they do have a gay character, but did we ever see that gay character kissing another man? One scene that he's supposed to be kissing this other dude, Asher, but they did the whole, you know, in Disney Channel when they will have the characters kiss, but they shoot it from the back, so you don't actually see them kiss. Anyway, but what that show had, it was, you know, it never really addressed real life issues, it never addressed any social justice or anything like that. So again, it was kind of escaping from this fucked up world into this fantasy white rich privileged world. With the reboot, since they address social justices, I'm not saying that I don't want them to, because of course I want them to address all of that, and I want them to be as inclusive as possible and have LGBT characters and have as much diversity possible in the show and address things that obviously they were not addressed in the original. Like, of course I want them to do that, but in a way it doesn't have that escapism effect that the OG had, that I loved from the OG, I will say. But anyway, the show is looking pretty good. I'm very excited. I want to thank myself for being optimistic for once. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the show. Let me know your thoughts on the reboot down below, what you think about it, what are you hoping to see in the second half of season 1. I will make another video once the whole season 1 is over. So yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.